Doobity-doo-bity-doo. It's Monday, new month Monday. Come on in. Please bring a friend and chart with me. It's Monday, new month Monday. Come on in, please bring a friend and chart with me. What's going on, everybody? Today is a special occasion because it is a new month. So we're going to do a quick run through of, some things that we see on the month as well as that'll take priority to the week. Um so please, if you do have any tickers or anything that you were looking at on the monthly, don't be afraid to drop them in the chat. I just ask that you put, some DD, a few words of DD as to why you're looking at that ticker specifically, just so we can get an eye or a feel for what you have in mind. Do 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 do. Just getting my screen together here. It's Monday, new month Monday. Can you move this, please? Come on in. Please bring a friend and chart with me. All right. Because we are pressed for time, I'm going to go ahead and start it up. Start it up. Again, this is the new month game plan brought to you by Teach dot Trade for the month of February. So again, if you do have tickers that you want to look at, please place them in the chat. Put a couple kind words of DD and chart with me. This meeting is recorded just in case you're coming in late or not at all. You can play it on the playback. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so the goal is this is what I'm going to try to complete today is to gain a clear month blueprint for the month. We want to identify major chart patterns and trends that we see, and then try to refine your strategy and skills. Walked away with practical tips for improving your charting approach by watching me do what I do. And things that we're looking for in general, there's some basics. We're looking for swing highs, swing lows, and how prices reacting to those. As we can see, those swing highs and swing lows sometimes forms barriers or a range, and looking for price to break that range. Sometimes we're looking for trends, higher lows, higher highs, lower lows, lower highs, gap fills or gaps that could potentially be filled. Those are some of the things that we're looking for. Continuation of things that we're looking for, reversals, again, trends, higher highs, higher lows, target points based upon where price has been before, using those swing lows and swing highs. All right. So the one thing I did want to touch on is that we have a lot of things going on this week. If you're not familiar, we are having our new trader boot camp that's happening right now. Today we're having the new month charting game plan. And then we'll have a level up series on Wednesday, February 4th, it looks like at 8 o'clock p.m. We'll also have guided trading on Wednesday morning. And then on Thursday, February 5th, we're actually going to be live on Spaces having a conversation there. And then don't forget that the Academy does start next Sunday, this coming Sunday. So the deadline to register for your pod is Thursday, February 5th. So you definitely want to not miss that deadline for those things. All right. And so one thing I did want to talk about quickly is the earnings for this month. So if this doesn't blind your eyes with all these colorful icons, this is basically some of the major stocks that have earnings this week. I'm not going to try to go through them all, but you can recognize some familiar icons. For example, Palantir has earnings today. Today, Disney has earnings today. Um, some more that jump out. AMD has earnings tomorrow, along with Super Micro Computers, PayPal, Pfizer, Chipotle, Take Two, EA Sports. They all have earnings tomorrow. Google has earnings Wednesday. Uber, Lilly, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, ARM, all has earnings on Wednesday, so on and so forth. We have a lot of stuff coming up. Amazon, Reddit, Irene, Affirm, Shell, Under Armour, all of those this week. Next week on semiconductors, Upwork, Robinhood, Spotify, Coca-Cola, Oscar Health, CVS, BP, Jumia, Shopify, McDonald's, T-Mobile, QS, Heinz Craft, Humana, Fastly, Coin, Nebius, Arista, Airbnb, DraftKings, Roku, Pinterest, Klarna, I seen somewhere just now, Instacart, Crocs. There's a lot of stuff having earnings this month. Like I said, you could just kind of whichever tickers or icons jump out at you. Cisco, John Deere, Hertz, Cadence, this semiconductor stuff. Oxy, Grab, Carvana, Cheesecake Factory, uh, Wingstop. What's this one? Walmart. Is that Walmart? Come on. Yeah, Walmart. Celsius, Lemonade, Coca-Cola, Yeti, Alibaba, all have earnings this month in 2 weeks. And then the last week of the month, so I guess we can just go ahead and go through it. Hims, Domino's Pizza, Trip.com, um, Internet of Things. Oh, that's Riot. Riot. Home Depot, Kava, Cypher, Lucid. What's this one? Workday. What's this? CRM, NRG. What's this? I don't know what that is. Nvidia coming up at the end of the month, last week of the month. Is that Salesforce? Snowflake, IonQ, Synopsys, Lowe's, eBay, Kratos, Dell, Intuit. What's this? Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab. What's this one? Duolingo, Intuit, Trader Desk, Warner Brothers Discovery, Monster Energy Drink, HP. What's this one? Baidu, And that's pretty much all the ones that I know by association, by heart. So yeah, as you can see, we have a lot of earnings coming up this month. Yeah, it looks like a app store of a company. All those colorful icons that are designed to get your attention. But okay, so some of the things that I wanted to talk about going into this month and actually, trickling into the new year. Um, it seems like a lot of things that used to be hot are no longer hot or they're losing some steam. And so I just wanted to touch base generally on some things that may have the attention of the market right now. And so that includes, if you're not aware, the AI sector is still pretty much up and booming. And so there's a lot of capex from each one of these companies spending capital expenses on developing their AI infrastructure and their AI implementation. So whenever you hear these companies talking about capex expense on AI, that just basically means that they're using money to expand their interest in AI companies, and that's in AI technology. And that's what a lot of these companies that you'll hear, talk about spending capex on AI. And so AI is not necessarily going anywhere anytime soon. I don't believe that it's a fad. Um, I think it's actually still in its like fetal infancy stages as of right now. And then just the mere fact that the more and more people get integrated with AI and find out how it could help them in their everyday lives, and then particularly in their everyday businesses and enterprises, I think the more and more people and society will become invested in AI. And so, in saying that, we're still at the foundational levels of AI, and that's why you see all of these companies have it's basically like a gold rush or gold race trying to build out AI so that they can have that thing that makes it click for everybody and monetize it. So in saying that right now, AI, the whole thing was it used to be, okay, AI, we need infrastructure. So we need power, we need data centers, we need servers. So that used to be the big thing. And that's why you see all the companies like SMCI going from, double digit stock to a three-digit stock, and then having this, fall off because the numbers weren't, were kind of make believe. But that was a server company for AI. That's why you see the NVIDIA, the GPUs that are basically the backbone of all this AI, maintaining this value, most expensive company in the world. That's why you see the Intel kind of, coming in from the cold, actually having this run up because, they're going to be in the future of foundry where these AI chips get made in the US. That's why you see TSM, the silent maker of all of these chips, consistently going up, going up, going up in the background because they make everybody's AI chips, including NVIDIA. So they basically have a monopoly on the production of all of these chips because they're the single entity that is able to, make those chips at a capacity that fits the demand, and it's still actually not at capacity, which is why Intel could, cut into some of their cake. So those are some of the names that you want to, even if it doesn't have a good chart on the monthly or, when you're looking at it, those are some of the names that you want to keep in mind as we go into this AI age. NVIDIA, TSM, Intel, ASML, because they also have a monopoly on the technology to make a certain type of chip. So in that AI spectrum, you definitely want to keep an eye on those. And so those are like the old guard, if we can say, in this relatively new AI space. So those are the main things, or the I guess, if for lack of terms, the blue chip or the blue collars of the AI space. Um, those are going to most likely always have a presence in AI. But what AI is actually rotating into now and what's having a big spark is the memory. So I'm sure you all have seen like the big gains from The tickers that we see here, SanDisk, MU, Western Digital, Seagate, as you can see, last month they all had pretty outstanding candles. And in my mind, I don't think that this run on them is going to decease. I think it's going to continue, if not, maybe go sideways. But this is a part of AI and the AI infrastructure that I guess people didn't understand until it was a scarcity of it. And so, just like your computer, when you're running all of these programs, you got uh, Instagram open, you got TikTok open on your computer, you got TradingView open on your computer, you got TOS, you got OBS. All of these applications are taking up memory, and eventually you run out of memory, which causes your computer to run extremely slow. And so, in that same aspect, you think about the AI data centers, and they're doing all of these computing from this point to that point, and eventually the AI robot becomes slow because it has a lack of memory. And so, what these companies do is make that memory, that random access memory or whatever it may be, in order for the AI to run smoothly and efficiently. And so, if you've seen, even if you're like a computer, whiz, the memory for like just general computers has gone up um, because there's now a scarcity of those memory because it's all been bought up by these data centers and the expanding of this AI. And so they're saying, okay, even though that memory chip costs $100, I'll pay you $200 for it because I need it to implement my AI. And so all of these manufacturers are now, raising their prices to meet the demand. There's a higher demand, and so they're raising their prices and kind of cutting out the people who, couldn't afford it at first and giving to the, major companies that are spending on capital expenses. They have unlimited millions, billions of dollars to spend on these types of things because they can see the future of AI. And so just keep those in mind as well. The memory is going to be a big thing, going into AI. And eventually, what it's also going to happen is we're going to have to talk about cooling these data centers and the use of water in these data centers. So that might not necessarily be a big thing that's popping now, but eventually, once news gets out about how much water these data centers are using as well, and these chip makers are using to make these AI chips, is going to be a big thing on that aspect as well with the water. So water companies, they may not, be sweet. I mean, something popular to talk about now, but you definitely want to keep an eye on those water companies, especially the ones that have data center relations and AI capability, AI related things. And then in general, you also want to keep an eye on the power, how all these things are getting powered, whether it's, nuclear power, whether it's renewable energy. You also want to just keep in mind how are they powering these mega data centers and running all of these AI and robots, and who is in charge of doing things like that. So that's my whole spiel on that. So far we've talked about the AI and the AI infrastructure. So things like NVIDIA, things like AMD, things like Intel, things like SMCI, things like ASML. And then you also have the internal infrastructures of the data center, the memory component, things like SanDisk, things like MU, Western Digital, and Seagate. And then you have the powering of the AI infrastructure, which is things like Irene with the renewable energy, things like Oklo with the nuclear energy to power these things. So that was my big spiel on that. And now we can go into some charts, a little bit of charts. I think some people did post some things in the chat, so we can take a look at some of those. Okay, Randy says that Disney is already down after earnings pre-market. I was saying that they were up 4%, but I guess they ran it back. Speaking of AMD, Raga says AMD has a 2-1 on the week. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Apple has a 2-2 reversal week. Month bounce from a fair value gap and bounce from the monthly 9 EMA up when QQQ was down last week. That's Apple. All right, so let's take a look at Apple. Oops. Oopsies. Can you all see my screen? I've been talking to, just wanted to make sure that you all can see the screen. Okay. So Apple on the month. Apple on the month is inside of a fair value gap. Nice fair value gap right here that it could potentially be using as resistance. One thing I want to note from my beautiful indicator down here is that the month is red as far as full time frame continuity. So we would like to see this next month open up green, which will switch this to red, and then we'll have potentially full time frame continuity from the hour all the way up to the year green on Apple, which is a good thing. We definitely want to be mindful of the trend, and it looks like the trend is to the upside, at least on those time frames. Right now, it looks like Apple might potentially open to the downside here. Um, but I do like, even though this is a red candle, I do like this recovery on Apple, basically hitting the low of 243 and then reversing at least from that low of the month and closing at, almost $10 higher, more than $10 higher on the month. And so in general, what I will be looking for Apple to do is hold strong back above this swing high here. So if we kind of zoom out here on the weekly, let me just take some of these things away because it's kind of distracting. So if we zoom out on the weekly here, we kind of have this swing high, as we said, mark right there, and then we have a swing low down here. And then if we kind of zoom out here, we kind of see that where my line, horizontal line is right now, it's been kind of like bouncing from that level right there. So what I'm gonna do is draw kind of like a box from this swing high to this area here where price is actually kind of finding support. And so what I would want Apple to do is what it's kind of doing right now. Broke above this swing high, took out the players up in here who probably caught this on the bottom. So they set their stops up here, took out this level of resistance, and then came back inside of this box, found the fair value gap on the weekly that could potentially be acting as support. And what I would really want to see is Apple break back and hold above the swing high again. Um, let's say 260. And then we can try to see if it can continue up to take out these swing highs up here. Once it holds strongly above that 260, it could potentially be trying to target at least this fair value gap. 269, then 277, and then 288 long term because we're looking at this on the weekly. So this could take, months to several months in order for this to transpire. But I'm liking this setup here on Apple with this break. Um, it broke out and then it corrected, and now it could potentially be continuing to the upside to take out these swing highs on Apple. Does that make sense? All right. And so someone was talking about Reddit. And so the same thing, kind of looking at the swing highs and where prices kind of respecting the levels on Reddit here on the weekly. On the monthly, we have a very, very bad three down. That could be a 3-2 continuation on the monthly. We do have fair value gaps that could potentially act as support, but this three down looks very, very nasty. Going back to the week, looking at these swing highs here, swing low here, swing low around here. And then we have some support kind of potentially right here. And so what I would do is use this swing high. Then we have a break from that level, fall back into this box that I'm going to draw right now. So swing high to this swing low right there, slide it over. And so what we have, if we look at this, is we kind of have an M shape here. Blow, 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 blow. So there's your M, aka double top on the weekly that we see there. And then where the entry is basically is kind of around the same support level as this swing low here. So the entry on that M would be here. I don't have. So continuation down above below 173.56. The little peak of that M right there will trigger your entry potentially on that. And then we will be taking it to potentially fill this gap to 152 and then potentially hit the swing low there at 138 on Reddit with that double top, potentially trying to break out of this range right here, break these swing lows to take out these swing lows with this double top that we see on the weekly. So again, because we see these patterns on the weekly, we want to add several weeks for this to play out. But this looks nasty. Nasty. Very nasty. Time frame continuity is down from the hour to the month. We have a new month, so this looks like it's going to open and stay red. On the 3 month, looks like it's also red. Hmm. So we do have full time frame continuity from the hour to the year to the downside on Reddit. Didn't Microsoft or Meta talk about building data centers under the ocean? I do not know. That sounds interesting. Aquatic AI. AI aquatic. Seeing a lot of rumblings about recent findings of liquid solution that will dramatically reduce the need to use water to cool the data centers and the AI stack. Been looking into it. Yeah, anything that they can use will definitely be of relevance. Some sort of saline, some new saline solution, a mixture of hydropothesis and dilithium acid. I just made all those words up. Can you take a look at ZOM? What are we looking at on ZOM? Focusing on energy this year as well as some consumer staples look good on the month. Good morning. Good morning. Ooh. Meow, 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 meow. Okay. So consumer staples, looks pretty strong. So we definitely have it inside of kind of a range. If we look at swing high, swing high, swing high, swing high, swing low, swing low, swing low, broadening formation, and we can see how relatively close these swing highs and swing lows are. So if we just would to draw some sort of box like this, that kind of got most of those areas where those swing highs and swing lows occur, we can kind of see that for the past couple of weeks, consumer staples has been, and well, for the past several months, consumer staples has been in this range of this box. What we want to see is a break the top of the box, break the top of the box, 84.53, and that looks like that would be all-time highs on this bad boy. So consumer staples has always been a safe haven when things get when things get hectic in the geopolitical space. People run to the safe havens like a consumer staples, and so we kind of see this massive run up, breaking these swing highs right here, where we could have saw even smaller range, and it broke the range, and now it's tackling trying to get through these swing highs. So we might be at an area where price potentially breaks down. So we do want to be mindful that even though we are bullish, this area is considered resistance where price has fallen before. So we definitely want to be mindful that it could potentially fall again and revisit this fair value gaps that we see here that it may going up. So if price can hold above 84, that's bullish. But if price fails, rejects, goes to 83, 82, then we could see a revisit of this fair value gap and a potential revisit of this swing low here down at the bottom of the box, 76. So just be mindful of that map of where price has gone before, visually indicated by the top of the box and the bottom of the box, and where price action is in relation to that box right now. I've drawn all over the screen and can't get it off. Any questions on that? I'm so hungry. Um, Ford looking good for calls this week. $14 calls. $14 calls on Ford. What I liked on Ford. What I liked on Ford is on the 4 hour. It had a nice move where it had a box and then it revisited into the box and then broke out of the box to tackle these swing highs here. So you can see it on the screen. I still have it drawn. Where it had, this is the box on the 4 hour. We're on the weekly, so that's why it looks weird. But this is the box I drew on the 4 hour. It popped out of the box and then dropped back into the box and then expanded back out of the box to take out this swing high that we saw on the 4 hour here, take profit of 14. And so what it's doing again, if we just move this 4 hour box over, is it went back down inside of the box, and then popped out of it and then retook this target of 14. So if Ford wants to keep going, we want to see it now try to take out this new target that it made or the higher high that it made up there at 1450, has become the new target up from the first expansion outside of that 4 hour box. And so what we would look for is some sort of indication that Ford wants to hold above this swing high here, that 14 even. and potentially go up to the 1450 to take out this new this I think this is an all-time high. This new high of 1450. And so you will probably want to be looking at that on the smaller time frames, the daily, to see what's going on. Now you can see the 4 hour box a little bit more clearly from the day. Kind of have some sort of, this is an ugly W, a very ugly W. There's a big one right here, and then there's an even the smaller one right here. And what we want to see is it hold above the peak of that W right here, basically the previous week high of 1384. Want to see it hold above there and then continue to take out these swing highs. The next level it would want to hold above is this previous day high of 1409 and then potentially take out that 1450. Ford moves very slow, so even on the daily, I would say, go weeks out to make sure that, you have enough time on this move on Ford. But Ford has silently actually been making new all-time highs, which is amazing. And it's all just breaking, the range on the 4 hour here, coming back, setting that new high, breaking back down, and then gradually trying to take out the swing highs again on the way to that 415, which would I think be a new all-time high as well. If I'm no, it's not. Damn it. Ford has been higher than $14. Okay. I was wrong. I don't know why I thought it was at new all-time highs. I guess because it's just been ranging at like 13, $10 ever since I started looking at it years ago. But it used to be somebody. It used to be, 26. So on a smaller, on a larger aspect, if we could break back above that 1450, we could potentially go to 15 to see if we can get through some of this resistance right here, as we see on the monthly time frame. But Ford is nice. It's cheap. And if you have time on it, you could potentially see some big returns, especially if you're dollar cost averaging into the stock or into a long-term leaps. Can you look at QQQ, please? Let's look at QQQQQ. QQQQ. All right, so this is where the big stuff is involved, all of the techie, mechy stuff. And so what we have is on the month, we kind of have a range, not necessarily doing anything stratty-ish, stratty-ish. On the week, we can kind of see that range a little bit more clearly. Can't take out this high. Can't, doesn't really want to go below around here. So the week, and then let's see the day. Again, you can see that kind of range on the daily. And so what I would do from that on the daily, if we can get above this level here, we could potentially try to take out this swing high. So again, here's your box from the swing high to the swing low, where we have bounce, 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 rejection, rejection from this area. And so we came out of the box a little bit, gave us a area that we could potentially return to. And now we're back into the box. And so 50% level is kind of where we're at in the box right now. Let's see if we can highlight that. So this is the 50% level. Underneath there will potentially be bearish for it to try to revisit this previous low, 607. If it holds below that 607, then we could take a trip back to the swing low here at 600. We want to see it break out of this inside candle on the day and see which direction it wants to take on the daily to lead us into those higher time frames to see if we can break this swing high here of 636 will be the target point, but we're looking to see if it can continue out of this box um, and get to 629, above 629 in order to try to take out this swing high over here, which you can see this is the area where it has reversed from before. So that would be a target once it breaks out of the box above 629 to take out 636. Again, this is long term on the daily, so this could take a couple of weeks for it to transpire. Again, to the downside, we're looking underneath where it is pre-market. It's right there at that 50% retracement from the swing high to the swing low. Underneath there again is bearish. Previous week 50% retracement is 616. That's further confirmation of your bearish bias. And then if we want to continue bearish, it could definitely try to take out that swing low there of 207, 607. That would be breaking the bottom of the box to potentially try to revisit this swing low here of 600 on QQQQ. 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 Pepsi has a 1-2 failed down month, closes above the 9 and the 20 EMA. Pepsi. 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 I like this. I like this. So again, looking at the daily, we can kind of see the range, support, support, resistance, target, breaking that resistance, targeting right here, could potentially try to get there, try to get there, bam, bam, targets, point of entry above here, box right around here from this swing high to this swing low. If we take it back, hold on, let me see. From that swing low, swing high, we move this box back a little bit. You can see that how it's respecting that swing low even before range, break out to the downside, back into the box, continuation to the upside, breaking continuation up. We want to see it target 155, 157 if it wants to continue up. This is resistance where it has fallen before. So if we start to meander and can't quite hold above this level, then we know it could potentially revisit the box and go back down to 152. If we hold strongly above this level, this 155, 155, then we could potentially head to 157 to take out this other swing high, and so on and so forth. If we hold above that 157, we could eventually see 160 on Pepsi. But this was a nice breakout on Friday. That would have been a nice entry breaking the top of that. Full time frame continuity from the month to, I'm sorry, from the hour to the 3 month. Just to verify on the year. We also have a full time frame on the year to the upside as well on Pep. Pep had a great breakout on Friday. Dang. But next level, we want to see if it can hold above that 155. What it do around this level? If it respects it as resistance, then we could see a revisit to the box and go back down to 152. But if it holds above it, we could see it continue higher, see that 157 and 160 on PEP. What time frame would you ideally be entering on the weekly setup? So the levels that I would set from the week as far as the target, if I'm looking at it on the week, then I set the target level on the week, and then I will wait maybe for like the a smaller time frame to close above that, maybe the hour, 30 minute, 15 minute. Generally looking for confirmation on the hour and entering on the five. Oh, yeah. Well, so Alfonso kind of answered in relation to, what he does. But I'm generally, if it's a higher time frame setup like the weekly, like the monthly, then I have more flexibility on the time frame. But I would generally like for it to be a fast but powerful time frame, like the hour, like the 30 minute. Um, we're looking at something on the month setup, then maybe even the 4 hour candle close, because these are monthly plays, so we'll potentially be holding them for several months. So we don't necessarily have to get the best entry like somebody with a day trading or scalping type of mindset would need. These strategies are more for, swing trading because we're looking far out at monthly setups that could take place over the course of several weeks. Yeah, so as far as the news, I kind of wanted to focus, like I was saying, more on the monthly, the new month setups is going to take priority over, what we normally do. But there are a lot of things going down in the news. I think the government might even be closing. I don't know. I don't. It's like closing every other day. They're talking about the government closing. Um, yeah. Did you want to take over, Key, and share some setups that you may have seen?
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? It's probably felt like a little bit. Welcome to February. And thank you, Maul. We have quite a lot happening, and so I have just a few things that I'm on my side watching, you know. Um, there's a lot. I mean, on what I'm watching is not a lot, but what I'm saying is that there's a whole lot going on, as Jamal kind of laid out, especially in the news. We do have a lot of market events this upcoming week. So we have PMI numbers, some S&P report numbers as well. Those are certainly coming down and kind of like laying out everything. We have job openings tomorrow. And then, back to the unemployment rates and whatnot. On Thursday and Friday. So even for today, just watch out as you're trading around 10 a.m. to 9:45 because we're starting a new week, a new month. I'd say wait for the reversals first. One of the initial things I'm watching is TEM. Even though Nancy Pelosi allegedly, opened a new position in TEM, if everyone's able to see this on the chart, there's a very clear giant monthly shooter that is happening there, and that can, it's falling out of what was its upwards trend. Currently, it's still maintained its upwards trend, but it's a bit shaky on that regard, I would say, because each month has made a lower low than the previous couple. So it's falling out of an upwards trend, and so there just may be more bearishness there. Because January ended very bearish for many companies, that's just what I'm a bit here and there about how bearish we can get, but I don't doubt that it can be bad. Because SPY, IWM, and them, they were pretty good, and they even snapped back from a giant drop last week, Um, Another ticker that you can put on your watch list to note is ALAB. This has a failed two up, which means we hit a previous high, was not able to hold above that high, and so that led to a reversal back down, right? Often looking like the LVL, right? The 25 cents. We're going to dive deeper into that later this week in one of our evening sessions on Wednesday. But because we did not complete this setup on a reversal, this could lead to a break to the downside to fall another $20. And so if something falls $20, I'm paying attention, right? Because that can be a lot of dollar movement. Because it seems some of the semis they are going to be cooling off. But as Jamal had mentioned, they are still a high priority area for a lot of tickers. So Astera Labs is one of them. On the flip side, though, when we're not just talking about blood, PG and we had mentioned Pepsi and a few others, the consumer staples are looking pretty healthy actually, and PG is one. So, on the quarter, PG was actually active on the quarter, um, which means this is all the way until the end of March, that PG has the ability to get to 157. And so you see the setup is showing here, and I can continue on over, keep going for another really big move to claim the rest of this range, right? It already covered quite a bit of it in January, but there's still a job to be finished. And if we break the high of January, that's just going to continue more momentum that can allow it to claim up over there. All right. Giant double bottom breaking above there, confirming above these levels. It just looks highly bullish. So if you don't want to trade puts, PG is probably one of your top picks. Another one is MDT. So this is Medtronic. This is a healthcare company. They have a lot of volume. I just checked. So they have at least 8 million volume, 33 billion market cap, which means this company is actually something serious and not something random if you haven't heard of it. Um, and so it was active on the month. We're starting a new month, so it's not going to be any longer active. However, it could still finish the job from going from there all the way to 105, currently at 103. So there's still a lot of land to cover there for MDT. So I could look at 105 calls for the end of February or middle of February. This has earnings coming up, I believe, February 17th. So that can be something that you look at. Expedia, this is actually something where it's very early in its LVL setup. And so Expedia, I'm not sure if travel, I have to review that sector first. But we're trading back inside of, if you see this, we have this range here of such. Um, from this high, you see this high up here, I'm drawing with the purple. It's really hard to draw a straight line, let me tell you. But we're going here and entering the range from that high to this low. So when that happens, and we've made a low, we're making lower lows. Expedia looks pretty rough, but starting its quarter again, all the way until the end of March, this is active to possibly 250 or 208. That means this is a possible $50 drop. All right. 57, a $57 drop all the way down if it really gets that terrible. So it might be something really good to watch. It could be even one contract to trade on this. Doesn't even have to be crazy. Can net you a really, really big win because it's really early, right? In this 3 month quarter to the downside. So either $15 drop or 57. Take your pick. That's worth it to me. So that's what I would say. Serve, very similar. Failed to up again. That means we rejected a previous high, started trading back into the range. This is the monthly. Has a shooter, a hard shooter on the month that could break down and can. This looks really similar to that other one that was showing. A-Lab looks very similar to A-Lab. Serve. This is a robotics company. They may, I don't know. It was active for a 26% correction to the downside, if you see that. Pretty big, right? It already covered most of that, but it could still finish the job for some more. And then JD is kind of interesting. It's really struggled to actually get any type of momentum to the upside. And so this came down, it was consolidating, and now it's looking to break even further down out of the consolidation. So I'd watch this for further lows, as well as the Chinese sector seems to be, ready for just a little bit of pullback after having a really great uh, start to the year. And then those are kind of my main tickers that I'm watching there. So if you want to take notes, JD, Expedia, MDT, PG, everything else looks very similar, honestly. But, besides the things that Jamal covered, SPY and QQQ are really interesting, and you should watch those. But like almost everything that I watch regularly is just straight red. We saw Bitcoin. If you saw Bitcoin this morning or last night, really terrible. But I'm going to be looking for Bitcoin as an entry really, really soon. Um, because Aman, myself, we had been looking at Bitcoin for under 74,000. It touched a little bit of 74,000, but it didn't really break below, so we're waiting for that. But definitely everyone just make sure that you take it slow. All right. Like John Legend, please. It's always the start of the month. All you have to do is wait for the reversal and wait for the signal. All right. So you're probably not going to get it until after 10 a.m. Eastern today, or even at the halfway point of today's trading day. That's what we're going to see. But if there is a trigger that you've been waiting for, feel free to take one contract. Don't go all in. See how it performs. If it is going in your direction, feel free to add to your position. But that's why I would just say, take it slow, wait for the reversal, do what you do. If you weren't able to get the tickers, I'll actually post them in the Discord right now. That's actually what I was doing. Yes, and it's in the regular chat. It's actually very formatted. You will like how it looks. So I just posted it in the Discord just now. Um, and yeah, with all that said, we're always very appreciative of your time. Jamal, I didn't know if there's anything else you wanted to add. But this was our monthly game plan session. I know it was early in the morning compared to sometimes, doing it at night, but I hope you guys are really secure. Okay. We have a lot coming up this week, just to put that out again. You can check the calendar in our announcements channel. There's going to be an event just about every single day. If you're still wanting to participate in the new Trader Boot Camp, that is available because tonight we are covering reading charts. If any of this was confusing to you or you need some more help, all right. So the market's about to open. So good luck with that, everyone. We're going to catch you all in the chat. We're also going to, we're going to see if about going live. We're going to have our voice chat in the channels. And then so we just wish you to be safe, to be blessed, and to take care for the rest of the day. All right, family.
All right, y'all. I'll see y'all out there on the battlefield.